Love truth, but pardon error. Voltaire, 1738. Community Governance Oversight. Fund 8 Proposal Details. The proposal details are as follows. The Community Governance Oversight proposal was submitted in the Fund 8 Improve and Grow Auditability Challenge. A budget of $34,300 was requested. The project started in July 2022 and completed in October 2022. Our proposal team drew on a range of talent from across the community. Challenge key performance indicators and proposal aims. The focus of Community Governance Oversight, or CGO, was on the audit, oversight and analysis of catalyst governance processes. Our team met this brief with extensive documentation and exposition in our fortnightly meetings, summarized in our project Gitbook, with regular updates in the Catalyst weekly newsletter and slides at Wednesday Town Hall. We discussed the most significant governance issues in Catalyst at the time, between July and October 2022, and developed analysis and oversight of them from our varied perspectives. We engaged community members as reviewers of our white paper on Delegated Representatives and Liquid Democracy, invited the community to submit commentary on Catalyst parameter changes, and hosted several after-town hall sessions. In general, we offered a range of pathways for the community to become more aware of developments in governance as they happened. The final way in which CGO met its aims is through our Oversight Report. This report draws together insights on 4 key governance processes: challenge setting, catalyst circle, delegated representatives, and parameter changes. Oversight of challenge setting was a collaboration between George Lovegrove and Phil Koo. Key issues found in challenge setting included overlapping categorizations, which added complexity for proposers and inhibited informed voting decisions. No access to funding for some focus areas or categories. A simplified assessment approach was recommended, as well as engaging the community in research and debate on challenge requirements. Funding access for different focus areas is illustrated in this graphic. In Fund 10, some focus areas received little or no access to funding. Oversight of Catalyst Circle was a collaboration between Vanessa Cardui, Philip Koo, Kenrick Nelson, and Tivo Sachs. Oversight versus influence. CGO's remit was confined to oversight, to observe but not to intervene. This remit was put to the test, as legitimacy issues arose in relation to Catalyst Circle 3.2. Unelected. Several elected circle reps resigned in May and June 2022 and were replaced by unelected sub-circle reps. Long tenure. There was confusion at the start of CC3 about whether tenure would be 3 or 6 months. In the end, however, CC 3.2 refused to dissolve and ended up running for 8 to 10 months. CCV 3.2 also decided that Circle would no longer work on problem sensing and focus only on planning CCV4. With no problem sensing, Circle spent 4 months without directly addressing community concerns. One Catalyst proposal, led by a Circle rep, gained an unprecedented level of access, being invited to present their solutions for the future of Circle at several consecutive meetings. Lack of community engagement. Often in meetings, CCV 3.2 members agreed to go to their communities to get feedback on an issue or decision and report back, but this was rarely done at all. Poor decision-making process. Circle 3.2 decision-making was very unclear. Some Circle members voted without realizing they were taking part in a binding vote, and some of the voted-on decisions were then not adhered to. Inward-looking. CCV3 spent much time discussing how it was perceived by the community and trying to address its own image. CGO questioned whether this was a legitimate use of Circle's time, or did it distract from the task of problem sensing? And what are the ethics of reputation in a governance body? No process on rule-breaking. There was a process in place, suggested by Governance Alive when Circle was created, for removing a rep who breaks the rules. But that process was designed for a much smaller community, and now seems inadequate. When attempts were made to create an alternative process on the fly, it did not go well. Catalyst Circle 4, Election Issues. Drip drops was the only organisation approach to present a voting solution. There should have been an open call for solutions. Jormungandr, which offered voter privacy and user familiarity, was ignored. A vote by circle to try other voting platforms was discarded. An intention for nominees to specify their community and provide a platform statement was not implemented. Overall, Circle 3.2 did not adequately communicate its plan for the Circle 4 vote, or sufficiently engage with the community. The Circle 4 election process. Lack of voter understanding. The ranked choice element was poorly understood, even by Circle 3 itself. Some reported only voting once, not realising they had 5 votes. Others did not realise that their first vote needed to be for their most preferred candidate. Lack of appropriate outreach. Information about the election and opportunities for candidates to canvass were shared mainly on Twitter and on the CF forum, platforms where many of the candidates are not very active. Lack of notice. Several candidates mentioned that they were only given 2 days to write their platform statements and only heard about various election events at the last minute. Lack of transparency and democracy. The vote was plutocratic, which is not a democratic process, and analysis indicates that the outcome was substantially determined by whale voters. As this graph demonstrates, less than 10 wallets out of 320 controlled 50% of voting power. Cumulative voting power per candidate showed last-minute whale votes for some candidates. The ability to check cumulative vote count may have influenced whale behaviour. Catalyst Delegated Representatives. Oversight of Catalyst Delegated Representatives was a collaboration between Kenrick Nelson, Torsten Potterbaum, and Stephen Wittenstall. A scholarly review of liquid democracy, delegated representation in Cardano's Project Catalyst governance, was conducted by the CGO team in collaboration with the community. The project was scoped to ensure that a high-quality review could be completed in a 4-month period. Lead authors were encouraged to focus on review of existing capabilities within their organisation and/or a review of the literature. Kenrick Nelson wrote an introduction for the review. Stephen Wittenstall was an editor, and Torsten Potterbaum hosted after-town halls to engage community reviewers. Philip Lazos completed a thorough review of literature on delegated representation, comparing the concerns and benefits of allowing voters to either vote directly or to delegate their vote. Steph McCurdy was able to draw upon resources within Wolfram Research to refine a Mathematica package to measure Banzaf voting power. The analysis was applied to Cardano Catalyst Fund 4 and 5 voting data collected earlier by Photrek. Aaron Porath described an application of delegated representation using the Consens community document writing tool. Oversight of Catalyst Parameters was a collaboration between Vanessa Cardui, Phil Koo, Alison Fromm, Tivo Sachs, and Andre Diamond. What is a parameter change? CGO's own agreed definition of a catalyst parameter change is simply any change that substantially alters the way a fund operates or the way Catalyst is governed. In Fund 8, we continue to use our broader definition of what a parameter is. Our focus has been to attempt to identify and log parameter changes. Note which areas of the ecosystem and which stakeholder groups are affected by each change. Capture detail on who initiated the change, the background thinking that led to the change, who was consulted, how and when, what the decision-making process entailed, and how transparent that process was. How are catalyst parameter changes managed? The data we collected indicated that IOG leads on the majority of the changes. Some stakeholder groups in Catalyst are heard more than others and are more likely to instigate a change. Some groups, particularly proposers, are more likely to be acted upon by sudden changes that are announced without discussion. Changes, whoever they originate from, have often been largely decided by their initiators before they are discussed with other stakeholders, so the sharing and discussion is usually somewhat cosmetic. Guidelines for a catalyst parameter change process. CGO suggests the following minimum guidelines for a catalyst parameter change process. Consult properly and agree minimum levels of consultation in advance. Clarify and publish what effect a change is intended to have and establish and publish a baseline. Fund and embed community-led monitoring and oversight of parameter changes, conducted from a range of different perspectives by a range of groups and individuals on a long-term basis. Clarify acceptance criteria and decision-making processes for community suggestions and modifications. Another output from this element of CGO is the beginnings of work on a dashboard developed by Phil Koo and Andre Diamond to easily log parameter changes, which will seek funding for full development in Fund 10. We invite you to read more about our work in our detailed report. Thank you to the Community Governance Oversight team. Look out for our continuing work in Fund 10.